if an artist has an idea, no matter how bad it sounds or whatever, or just like ridiculous or like, just do it. Because 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, it's going to open up this whole new thing.
Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of the people who listened to that conversation, I hope you enjoyed it. And thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. Cheers. Soda's a rare commodity. Not many people drink soda on the show. Not many people drink soda in general anymore.
I'm all into the soda now. Not so much the alcohol.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
I got you.
So.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Fair enough, my friend. Fair enough. That's why I keep both in the fridge. Got to have something for everybody.
Professional.
Yeah. So for anybody out there that doesn't know who I'm sitting next to right now, to my left is the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Dan Koshute. Make some noise for the internet.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. Please calm down.
Everybody.
The studio audience is a little rambunctious today.
Oh my gosh.
So Dan, what's going on? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's 2020.
It is 2020.
Finally.
Another year. Longtime friend I met about 2 minutes ago downstairs.
Yes.
Have we ever played a show or anything
together? I feel
together?
like we may have.
Maybe back in the day. Who knows?
Anything's possible.
I think that you are probably very similar to me. We're Pittsburgh-based musicians. We've probably played in more projects than we care to reminisce or talk about. And as we enter a new decade, shall we? Let's start off on a clean slate.
I'm ready.
Let's not dig too much into nostalgia, but some people got to know why you're here. So let's start there. What's the deal, Dan? What do you do?
Well, I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, guitar player. That is me.
Rock and roller.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because, you know, the singer-songwriter tag gets put onto, you know, typically things that aren't as like rock driven is what I'm familiar with you doing
right.
But you also may have like a singer-songwriter-y side. And I guess every song starts somewhere.
I hate that term, but there's no other way to say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've tried saying singer-song maker, but people are like, what the hell is that? But I'm like, I'm just trying to do anything besides use what that connotation is.
Telling people you're a pescatarian.
Right.
It's like, what?
Right. Pardon me?
So,
but I mean, like, I think of the way that I think of singer-songwriter, it's way more broad than, you know, what it's come to mean. Like, I think Prince is he's like singer-songwriter, you know, Jimi Hendrix or something like that. You know?
Fair enough. You're 100% correct. But yeah, the singer-songwriter as a genre is kind of it's become a nicer way to say, well, not necessarily a nicer way, but a different way of saying just like indie folk or
right
Americana or whatever, because you know nobody wants to be Americana anymore because everybody hates America or whatever. You know, it's bad. So I don't know.
You don't want to wear that on your sleeve. In the wrong crowds.
Yeah. Well, anyways,
you booed.
Less about America, even though we are in America currently in America, 2020. You put out a self-released like solo project a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what have you been up to recently?
I'm writing music for my next release, and I'm kicking around different ideas for it. One thing I wanted to do for as long as I could remember is make like a double album. Ooh. Even though that doesn't really exist now, like two, you know, CD.
Yeah, you have to you log into your Spotify account, then you have to sign out and sign back in to listen to the second
shut
part.
It down. Yeah. But actually, you know, with the playlists that people are making, there's like, you know, sometimes well over what would be like an album's worth of songs. So it's almost right for it now. We put out a lot of material, and I've always made records almost like a calling card, like a business card. Like, here's what I can do. Like, if anyone would want to work with me, like further, and I only have limited resources, and so I've kind of curtailed my expression in that way in terms of albums. But now I really don't want to do that anymore. Like, because I'm the type of artist, like, I write all the material
Yeah, that was going to be my next question was like what the writing process was like for you.
Yeah, it's just all comes from me, and like it's all fully formed. I don't have any group writing or anything like that. So always I've kind of trained myself to write a lot, just trust myself after a while, and make a lot of demos in the process. And so that's why something like just putting all this material out instead of being like, oh, here's my best 8, when I had like a ton more that I could have put out, but I didn't want to like, I don't know.
I gotcha. Just throw it all
elbows.
Throw it all out there.
Right.
I'm very much the same way in the sense of it's very rare for me to work on anything that doesn't get released unless it's like it just doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
If a song gets finished in some capacity, I'll probably release it. Even if I know it's dog shit, I'll probably find an excuse to put it out.
Yeah, that's kind of the cool thing about where we are now. You could just release it. There's no nothing in between.
Yeah, like sometimes weird things happen. Like, oh, this will just be like a backing beat in like a video that I make, or like something random video for like we're playing a show and I want to throw some music in it. Like
you'll find a use.
Here's some bullshit track, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's fun to be able to use everything outside of the music production, singer-songwriter stuff. Do you do anything else creative, or do you mostly focus on music stuff?
I write poetry. That's one thing I would like to do this year is, over the last 10 years, I've put aside like my best stuff, and I don't think of it in the same way I think of music. Like music is like my main thing, and it's not really close, but at the same time, it's still something that I do.
Sure.
And I've never really wanted to put anything out for one reason or another, because I'm just like, why I got this music, I don't need to distract myself. But this is the year I'm going to try to, like, everything that I put aside over the last 10 years, put out as a book. So also, I've acted in a few things, which I haven't done in a while. And I was in a feature film that my friend made called I'm a Stranger Here Myself. And I actually made the soundtrack for that too. So it was kind of like the best of both worlds. Cool. But I would like to do that again.
Yeah. Whenever you were making a soundtrack, did it operate more as like a score, or did you write like just rock songs for it?
Well, I kind of wrote them as the character, because the character was almost like I was writing them from the character, or like inspired by the character.
Yeah.
Because the character was a musician. And it was an opportunity to make music that I would never release, kind of like what you were saying, just putting stuff out there. Like for me, this was even beyond that. It was like I wouldn't even have the time to like write in this way or something, because it was so different. But it's stuff that I love. Like it was kind of in the style of like Replacements and like 80s American underground rock and pop punk even.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really like a score. The way I titled the album was, they used only like a few songs. I wrote like a whole album, but I released it as music for the film. I'm a Stranger Here Myself, instead of music from the film. Like I wrote it for it, and I didn't want to release that either. But I felt like it was good stuff, and I should be proud of it. And like I am now. At the time, I was like, I wrote it in character almost. So I was like, I don't know what to make of this.
That's a fun exercise though, to be able to like step outside of yourself and just approach music from it's obviously you because you're writing the songs, but I feel like this is a thing that I've gone into with the music that I make, is where everything's like super personal.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like every song is a reflection of whatever's happening in my life. So the end result ends up being a lot of material that feels and sounds the same, because like as a person, like I haven't really changed a whole lot,
right?
Over the course of time, here and there, but not in like nuanced enough ways to like really like, I don't know, like tell wildly off the cuff stories. But then I joined a metal band and I was like, hell yeah, I'm just going to write all like science fiction and all this like obscure stuff that, it's like, it's already completely over the top bullshit. So it's like fucking just like, let's really drive it home. And it was like really easy and fun. And it felt completely different, 100% different writing something for that than I would for my normal solo material, just based off the material alone.
That's a legitimate creative device, is to write. But what I've found out through reading about some of my heroes, it's like, they hit a creative wall and then they found themselves writing in a different voice, and it like opened up a whole new, it's like, boom, all of a sudden I'm creative again. I kind of felt the same way, or felt that the power of that freedom in the previous band that I was in, Dazzleteen, and it was almost like playing a character, and that was cool. But it was almost too intense, like, because it was, I don't know, like, I felt like it took so much of my energy.
Sure.
Too much. It wasn't like a device anymore. It was like a method acting type of thing. Like I brought it with me on the streets.
Sure.
So,
I could see that. What was your role in that band?
I was the singer. And
okay.
lead guitar player.
Nice. So it was very much like, I guess, like if you're like fronting this other project and you're like playing a character in that project, I can imagine it's very much like, it's like on stage, it's one thing. And then maybe like, if you're playing around people that don't know you personally, they're probably like, oh, this is you. Like, you are this person.
Right.
And it's like, okay, now, am I this person? I don't know. Like, do I have to act like this? Like, am I breaking character?
Honestly, all that came true, and it kind of turned into a nightmare because I didn't really, after a while, I was like, I didn't really like the character. I didn't like where it was taking me. I call it a character. I never was explicit about that, but I thought I was, but I don't think so.
Sure. Well, I think that there's a thing like with, some elements of rock and performance art where like everybody's some form of an exaggerated form of themselves on stage. Well, I guess not everybody, but some people are. And if you're doing something that's like a little bit more over the top and flashy and just kind of like, look at me. Like, you are very much like kind of a caricature of yourself on stage, but there are people that don't know you that may expect you to be like that all the time, and that can be incredibly exhausting. Like there's people that, no, don't take anybody that sees me out in public, please feel free to come up to me and talk to me, but like if I'm like just out, I'm like a spirit or something, and I run into you and I'm like having a drink, like I don't want to talk about your fucking social media like algorithms and stuff like that right now, just because I like talk about like music business and art and stuff all the time. I also like to just like
chat,
do nothing sometimes. Like, let's talk about like fucking Star Wars and Sega Genesis or something dumb, like whatever, anything but the music thing all the time. Gotta take a break from it.
Exactly.
Outside of the poetry and the music and just creating in general, what is your life like? The normal day-to-day of a Dan Koshute
day. Well, the producing has been my day job. I'm actually one of your guests. I'm producing his record, Michael Miracles.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's kind of been it's kind of been a dream come true.
What's so funny is I didn't know that connection, but knowing his music and your music, it makes so much sense. It's just like two peas in a fucking pod right there. That very just like flamboyantly unashamed rock and roll. That's just like, it's a rare thing. Like there's like, obviously there's people that are doing it, but when you look at like, did you see the Billboard chart of like the top 10 rock songs of the past decade that they released? It's, whatever. I'm not here to talk shit on, the state of what rock and roll is nowadays, but it's just as I don't know. I
didn't do it for you.
I miss the like rock and roll being just like, like badass people with like fucking attitudes and
G.G. Allen.
No, I don't necessarily miss G.G. Allen, but you know what I mean? Like, they're, there was just like this ego to rock and roll and just very much like the concept of being a rock star. And I don't know, I miss that. But like I grew up like, watching Iron Maiden VHS tapes and, listening to like Led Zeppelin with my dad and shit like that. And it's just like that, like, that's like fucking rock and roll to me. Not like, I don't know.
I know what you mean. There's not stories and like narratives of like, in like a heroic way about the bands anymore. And that's kind of what we wanted to try to do with my previous band, Dazzleteen. It's like we tried to create like that almost like a myth or something.
Yeah, like the gimmick of it is fun. Like it's like there's some bands that are still doing it. Like if you're familiar with Ghost, they're like they do like the kind of like just like psychedelic rock metal. They have their little shtick, and then you got like Slipknot.
Yeah.
Where are the other gimmick bands? I need more gimmick bands.
Ladies and gentlemen.
But I understand it's a lot of fucking work. And also, like, I think, too, maybe with the social media stuff, people just kind of want, like, real people. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the kids want these days.
It's so hard to pin down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of social media, I'm kind of, for this project and what I'm doing now, I'm kind of disconnecting, almost going the opposite direction. Because it got so noxious for me over the last few years. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like what I'm doing, it fits for some people, but for what I'm doing now, it's not really that.
Yeah,
not that important.
I find myself just not caring.
Just do it,
and that's just it. Like I just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I understand that it's important, and I talk about it a lot on the show. But with like me and myself, I mean, obviously I promote the show when I put it out, but like, I don't sweat it. And I'm not like trying to update my fucking Instagram stories all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not downloading TikTok anytime soon or whatever the new cool apps is. I don't know.
You're not making noise on TikTok?
No, I'm not. And I don't know. I think that like I'm just kind of happy with where I am, and I just want to like make art and just kind of like put it out, and if people interact with it, cool. Like I'm not gonna.
That's where I'm at.
I don't want to sweat over like, oh well, you know, if I have the album cover look this certain way, I need to use a certain color palette so it contrasts on Spotify's background and more people look at it.
Right.
Like that kind of like people think like they get so deep into like worrying about all of these things so they'll listen to their music, and it's just like, bro, or broette, whatever you are, just write a good fucking song.
To me, that's the most important thing.
People will, if it's good, people will gravitate towards it.
That's kind of the only thing I give a shit about is not even great songs. Do you know what I mean? Songs that strike me as great. Everything else, I don't even like music outside of that. If I really get down to it.
But like the other thing too is like I don't understand. Like there's a lot of like this attitude now where with going into movies, people will be like, "Oh, I saw that movie. Like it wasn't the best thing ever, but it was fine." Or people will hear a new album like, "Oh, it wasn't like the best, but it was fine." And it's like, why do things have to be the best? Why does every new thing that you engage with have to be the best? Why can't things just be good?
Yeah, like you touched on something that I thought about a lot over the last few years, where I kind of had like a break in my psychology where I was like, I like everything. I can say that one thing might be better than something else, but I can still like it the same.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I like bands now that have been around for a long time. You know, that old cliche where they make, you know, records many decades later and people are like, what the fuck? Like, this is nothing like this. But I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like, I'm that guy at their shows, like buying the records, like, oh man, I got to see him here. And people are just, oh, this is a joke. Like, they used to be this or what. I'm like, they're making music now. They're walking the earth right now. And, you know, I can't, like, this is an opportunity to just see where they're going, like follow their trajectory.
Yeah, it's fun. I was literally just talking with somebody about like how important it is for like old artists to come back and like how much of a shit we should give and how much of a shit we shouldn't give. He made a funny point about how like he just doesn't like Star Wars anymore because he feels like it was done when it was done for him. And he doesn't care that they keep on making new movies.
You mean like the original three?
Yeah. He's like, that was it for me. Like, that's all I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's like, I didn't need more. I didn't ask for it. So I just don't engage with it. And I think like that could be kind of put onto maybe some artists that come back and then put out stuff that nobody asked for. Like somebody in here recently showed me this newer Paul McCartney song.
Mm-hmm.
That's like very like modern, like electronic pop rock.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you had heard it or not, but
I don't think I have.
And it sounds like Ed Sheeran wrote it.
Wow.
And it's like okay, like it's cool that Paul McCartney's still out here doing the thing. I'd rather him be alive than not alive. But also, like, who is this made for? Who's like,
make me sound like Ed Sheeran?
You'd probably have to hear the song, but it's very much like, what is this?
Just
it's very
question
strange.
Marks.
It's very, very strange.
Sometimes you don't even know if that's what they're trying to, you know what I mean? Like, are they fucking with you?
Well, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
That's the other thing that's hard to say too, because you don't know, maybe they just genuinely like new music. You know, Paul McCartney, one of the granddaddies of pop rock, pop music in general.
Easily.
And, who's to say that he's just still not interested in the evolution of pop music and contributing to what pop music is today in 2019 or 2020?
I'll give you a perfect example of an artist I think who totally personifies that idea is Bob Dylan. Even now, people are like, what the a Sinatra, a 3-disc Sinatra record of covers? Not only did he do one, he came back and did a triple album of Sinatra covers. Everybody's like, what the and Bob Dylan, it's not like he has like a classically, especially now.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh my God. But then again, you got to think like that's kind of like the genius of it. It's just like, making, and he made like a Christmas song, like Must Be Santa a few years back. And everybody was just like shocked and appalled. But I was like, I think this is genius. And I saw him on stage at the Peterson in 2007 with my friend. And like his stage show was just that embodied, like the embodiment of that vibe. Like he's just doing his thing. There was like a big banner of like a cannabis leaf, just like, and I was like, what? Like people were like, what is happening? But you got to think like that's kind of like in a lot of ways equivalent to what he was doing in the 60s, where people are like, when he turned to electric, people are like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. People are still pushing the envelope some ways,
Yeah.
It's cool to see that.
I had no idea that Bob Dylan put out a 3-disc Frank Sinatra cover album.
It's actually amazing. Like it's incredible. Like Frank Sinatra is just one of the greats, and his whole thing was like the songwriting is brilliant, and like the articulation and like and if you just get into those songs, like he's a master at covering songs, and he's a master of great songwriting, and he kind of zeroed in on that and shined the spotlight on it. It's like when you take a hip hop song and then you make it like an acoustic singer-songwriter song or something like that, and it's just really raunchy lyrics, and then you play it and it's like shocking, but it's also like a cool perspective to look at it,
And it's cool when it can work because it really speaks to the power of the actual song.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff I think in modern production where regardless of the style of music, I think that you should be able to like strip it down to either like, one instrument and a person, and be able to get the rhythm, chord, and melody going. So you're like, oh, this is the song. And then if you want to throw a bunch of distortion and effects on it, that's cool. Or if you want to put a bunch of, run it all through MIDI synthesizers and do that sort of thing, whatever. But it's like, do you actually have a song here?
Right. I wholeheartedly agree. I feel like the greatest songs in the world, you could play them with just one person singing it, or like a fife or something like that, Like think of like Amazing Grace, which to me, I think is like the greatest song ever written. How many different...
You don't think the greatest song ever written was Sandstorm by Darude?
Okay, sorry. Second greatest song.
Or Cher's Life After Love?
Man,
that is
they're just knocking Amazing Grace off its high horse. But yeah, I that's what I wanted to do on the record too. I wanted to kind of like craft my songwriting in a way that pared it down to its essential elements, and I like the style of production where you're not saving the song with production. You save the song with the energy and the performance and the actual songwriting. But you don't save it like, oh, we're gonna add,
Dude, literally every single time I've had to work on a song and like find a way to improve it, I would say not every single time, but probably 9 times out of 10, I improve things by taking things away.
Yeah.
It's never adding.
Truly. Yeah.
There's always, it's so easy, especially as somebody 'cause I self-produce all my stuff too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, 3:45 in the morning. I've been working on a fucking track for hours, and it's so easy, especially with the access that I have to just be like, oh, like, what is this plugin going to sound like?
Right.
What is this going to sound like? What about this? What about that? Let's add some layers. Let's add some harmonies. Let's do, go fucking nuts. And then all of a sudden you have this like, it's like not every track needs to be Bohemian Rhapsody. Just fucking back it off.
It's like that saying where Sgt. Pepper's was made with a 4-track or an 8-track or something like that. I think it's a 4-track tape machine. And, there's a lot of wisdom in that statement, because at first you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, like you don't need 24 or 48 tracks to make a genius record. But also it stands now with those 4 tracks that they used to make that album. It stands against something made today with 200 tracks.
Oh, sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like the perfect, like only the essentials, even with...
And again, it speaks to the power of the song.
Yeah.
Again, like sometimes, especially because I do mostly hip hop and electronic music production. So it's so easy to lose sight of like how many layers and things are going on in the track. So like I try to make it a habit of, even though I'm not making rock songs, really, I come from a rock music background. So I just try to think of the fundamentals. Like, okay, so this is like representing the bass. And that could go like 1 or 2 melody parts, there's like 1 or 2 guitar parts.
Yeah.
I have my drums and maybe like a little keyboard thing or something over there. But like if I have more than that much going on at once, let's look at actually what's happening in my mix here and how much of this is actually important. Like sure, it might all sound cool together, but it's also like completely unnecessary.
Yeah, I've heard that the human ear can only concentrate on 3 elements at once.
Ooh, so I believe that.
Yeah, so like it's kind of something you could use in mixing. I think that's what they were talking about. Some famous mixer,
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Sir Mix-a-Lot. Yeah. So
sorry.
And but anyways, Sir Mix-a-Lot was saying
3 things at once.
Yeah, 3 things at once. So it's like you may have other elements, but like focus on 3, because there could be things happening in the background, but like always think of like 3, at once at any given second of like introducing something. That's what I try to do that.
Yeah, I think I always like to approach songs with like, I when I write a song, I think of it as a roller coaster in terms of like the dynamics and like, building things up, like dropping people down. Yeah. Thunderbolt. Hell yeah. Best coaster at Kennywood. Don't get me started. I'm starting the best. I'm starting a Kennywood vlog.
Are you serious?
I am. I'm dropping this right now just because it came up. So everybody knows. Yes. Keep an eye out this summer. The double dip. It's going to be the Start the Beat Kennywood special. I'm doing a whole thing.
Can I be on that about the Thunderbolt? That's my favorite roller coaster in the world.
Nice. Are you a roller coaster enthusiast, or you just happen to like that one?
I just happen to like that one. It's I mean, I've been on God knows how many.
I like roller coasters a lot. I keep telling people whenever, the music thing doesn't quite work anymore, my old man hobby is going to be joining one of those roller coaster enthusiast groups that ride the buses and go to all the theme parks. And I'm going to collect and build model trains in my house.
Go for it.
That's my retirement goals, if you will. Not that I'm in a career that anyone actually retires from.
Just dropping knowledge about the future here.
Yeah, just letting people know. Kennywood vlog, and I fucking love roller coasters. But anyways, with that being said, I tend to think of writing songs in that format. So yeah, I like the idea of concentrating on only a few things at once, as if you're like, also when you're riding a roller coaster, you're not paying attention to all the foundations and the things that are holding up the track.
Right.
But obviously without those things, you have no roller coaster. So that's kind of the way a song is too. Like you may not be so focused on the beat. You just have a good sturdy backbeat. Yeah. It's not crazy important. It's not the focus of the ride. The ride wouldn't be the ride without it, but you have all those other things that make it fun to help it work. And then you have the dynamics of the song.
Yeah.
Loud parts, quiet parts, exciting parts, sad parts, angry parts.
Yeah.
Emotion.
Yeah.
I love it.
Just like the original Steel Phantom, where if you weren't prepared, you get your head jostled around.
Oh, yeah.
But if you were a pro, you knew to put your head on the side. You know?
So
On the-
I just got this in the mail. I got an original Steel Phantom t-shirt.
I had one. I lost it.
Which one did you have?
Oh, damn. I don't know. It was like the Phantom himself.
Okay, it's just like the logo of the Steel
With-
Phantom.
Yeah, with the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's this one?
So the one that I have has that on it, but it says Survivor,
Wow.
and then it has like the Guinness Book of World Records stats for it. There's another Steel Phantom shirt that I'm trying to find. Here, I'll show you. I'm gonna show you a picture of this real quick. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna pull it up. I could pull this up on the internet, and I could pull it up on the screen so everybody else can see it.
All right.
So I posted this to my Instagram recently, and this is actually a good opportunity since there's a big Pittsburgh audience here for the show. If you or anybody out there maybe has this shirt in their closet, let me know. I will take it literally in quite any size, but a larger XL would be exceptional so I could actually wear it. But I
Yeah.
would just love to have one of these things. So it is an original Steel Phantom shirt, and it is fucking gnarly. I'm pulling it up now. So this is it.
Wow. I've never seen that. That's amazing.
Hell yeah.
Experience the power. You see, I didn't know he had like the ripped legs and the
Yeah,
and all that.
I wasn't aware that he was such a tough boy.
No, I thought he was you never really saw him, but you get a look at him right there.
Yeah, yeah. So if anybody has this shirt or knows anybody that has this fucking shirt, I'm trying to find one. I've been keeping an eye on him online, and yeah. So with all of my
That's beautiful.
Yes. So
What a great roller coaster.
yeah,
I'm so happy that any opportunity to talk about that roller coaster is time well spent.
the Phantom.
I don't have enough of.
Yeah, the Phantom was great, and I'll definitely invite you to Kennywood with
Love
me.
that.
I was thinking it would be fun to do I just want to do like a straight up vlog / like history of Kennywood through the lens of, my mid-30s dumbass, and not necessarily like, all nice and proper. So I have some questions and I want them answered.
Like what?
About Kennywood. Oh, I can't spoil anything.
Okay.
But I will say this. There's one other thing that I'm looking for. So Laughin' Sal at
Yes.
Kennywood? So she has a lot of sisters across the country.
I didn't know this.
There's only a handful that are still active.
Oh, okay.
But when they were originally built, the way that her laugh operated was actually on 78s, like a stack of 78 records that played, and then it would automatically, like a jukebox inside, just a record of straight laughing, and then it would go to the next one. Then once it was done, they had to reset it. But now all of them have been replaced with modern technology, just kind of like an MP3 loop or whatever's going on to create the laughter. But I'm a big record collector, and those records are somewhere. So I want one of the Laughin' Sal
Talk about rare.
78s with just the stupid cackle. That's like goals.
And then you could sample that shit.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know? Wow.
That would be fucking tight. I would love that.
Slow it down.
It's just like, it's so funny. Like, there's people that, collect rare Star Wars things or, fucking sick guitar pedals, Japanese boss pedals and shit like that or whatever. And
Silver
it's like,
screw.
Me, it's like, no, I just want old Kennywood t-shirts. Like, I'm so fucking
Jerry's
lame.
Records. If you have this,
Oh, yo, Jerry's a good person to ask.
Jerry.
I only recently found out about the Laughin' Sal things because, like, when I started doing this, got the idea to do this Kennywood thing just in the past couple months. So I've started to do a bunch of research, and it came up just recently. So I was looking online for one. I couldn't find one. Not that I expected it to be online, but yeah.
Wow. That's got to be super rare.
Oh, there can't be that. There can't be that many of them. I think
Right.
that I had read that each one had maybe only a dozen records in it, and there was less than 100 of those things floating around the country. Most of them probably just got thrown out. Like, oh, we don't need this anymore.
Right. who's going to want this?
Yeah. Some 35-year-old in 2020 is going to be willing to pay a lot of money for this. Nope.
Right.
Toss it.
Trash.
Do you have any sort of like collecting or weird things that you're into like that? Any hobbies outside of
collecting? I used to collect records when I had a record player, but not in the way that, like, record collecting where you're like, oh, I'm going to find this rare record, or like, I want to get basically my dream record collection of, like, you know, whatever I really want to listen to on.
Yeah.
My favorite thing was, it's such a format of, from a time where it was like, they tried to sell you shit just by like the images on it and stuff, and it didn't really convey what was going on. So it's like it's a medium where like just you could look at something and be like, I don't know what the fuck this is gonna be.
Yeah.
You know? And then but I wanna hear what's on this. You know? I want to have whatever this is. You know, it could be like samba music or whatever. And I used to just I'd go to Jerry's and weird classical shit, like just I love that.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm very much, I don't do it anymore because I just don't have the space, and my like concept of consuming materialistic things has really shifted in the past 5 years of my life, thankfully. But yeah, I used to love just going to Jerry's or going to thrift stores and just, you know, find a couple obscure records and just like, I've never heard of this. I can't find barely anything about it on the internet. This is just some weird artifact that exists. But somebody put a lot of time and energy into this. Like, it takes a lot of work to put an album together. Even if it's bad in the long run, somebody still put a lot of heart and soul into this. So I like want to engage with this like forgotten thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much the vibe, like the energy. It's just you're holding this crystallized thing from the culture, like an artifact.
And like, especially when you're like, you know, you're picking it up secondhand. It's like, you know, at some point in time, somebody obviously put all the energy into making these songs. And then somebody took this ridiculous photo or made this ridiculous artwork. And then somebody convinced somebody to manufacture these things. And then they went into a store. And then somebody bought it and somebody else listened to it before you had it. And it's like the whole story of like these ridiculous things. It's just like, I don't know. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
The obscurity and the mystery behind like why this exists, why somebody ever bought it in the first place. And like now it's in my hands.
Right.
So weird.
Yeah. It's like, it reminds me of, I'm reading this book called Astral Weeks about the Van Morrison album. Came out in 1968. One of my favorite albums. And it's also about the Boston scene, rock scene at that time, which is largely forgotten. Kind of like what we're talking about, these random records that are just like roaming the earth in bins, thrift stores, or, you know, used record shops or whatever. They're just largely forgotten until people pick them up. There's like so many bands, like ridiculous bands from the era of the psychedelic. There's a band they talk about called Ultimate Spinach, which I've never heard before. Bands like that.
Hell
like,
yeah.
You're just like, damn, that's fucking cool, you know?
Yeah.
But they're just like lost to history almost. And it's kind of cool. You're just like doing archaeology whenever you go to like Goodwill or Jerry's or something. Mm-hmm. And it's probably going to be amazing. Like whatever you find, like going back to what we were saying, like liking something, you know, not saying that you could say that something's better than this, but liking it just the same. Usually if you see a record that you're just like, man, this is crazy. It's got to be nuts. It's usually going to be amazing in its own way, you know?
Yeah, I think it's just like liking things because they exist. And maybe also the way that I listen to and engage with music is so different now from the times when I was just a kid. Because like it's like that behind the curtain mentality where
Wizard behind the walls.
Yeah, I'm very much like, I mean, even outside of like playing in a band, it's like, you know, like my day job is like, you know, helping manufacture and produce records and doing graphic design and layouts for people. Like that's stuff that I've been doing for a very long time. So like, you know, whenever I'm like see like ridiculous album artwork and I'm like looking at like crazy text layouts and like just I'm like, this is, you know, it connects with me in a way just because my brain's like trained to think about things that maybe some other people don't. And then like much like when I'll put the record on and it's like, oh, I can't believe in 1964 this was a passable snare drum tone.
Right.
And like
get into that
and like things like that. But it's also like if it sounded any different, like if those songs sounded modern, would they sound as good as they do recorded in that way? You know, like it's a hard question to ask.
That reminds me another quote that I like as far as production. It's better to sound new than good.
Okay.
There's something to that. It kind of reminds me of that. I don't know. Just
yeah.
reminds me of that. Because good usually means you're a part of whatever the zeitgeist is. It's going to be, in 5 years, going to sound like, that's so 2010s.
I've had this thing where, so I've been recording my own music for a really long time. And every once in a while, for whatever reason, like I will somehow stumble across something from like ages ago.
Yeah.
And I'll just listen to it. And there's been stuff that I've listened to that is, textbook fundamentally produced
For
wrong.
the time. Oh.
Wrong. Like it's nothing's like, like the levels are bad, limiting is fucked. Like nothing's like it's not mastered properly in any way.
Right.
But it sounds so cool and unique. And it's like unhinged. There's like almost like a punk rock thing to it.
Yeah.
Where it's like I would never be able to replicate that sound now because I can't fucking sit down with a mix without opening up, all the plugins and like, trying to get everything. Like my brain's like, it needs to fit these certain parameters. So I try to like keep that that ignorance is bliss in mind, even when doing new mixes now, and try to make it like, this doesn't have to be perfect. It's just like, does it sound good? Don't look so much at the screen. Don't look at the meters. Don't, just close my eyes and just listen to it. Like, is this
Don't mix
right?
with your eyes.
Yeah.
Listen with your ears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like there's something to that where like you just making something like that, whatever it is, art, just with the best intentions of like, you're just putting all you have into it right now. Like the knowledge is secondary. What I'm trying to do is make something that moves me. That's going to translate, I'm a firm believer in that.
Did you, when you were getting into production, did you go to school or have any formal training?
No. At my high school, Mount Lebanon High School, there was like a music technology class, which I did 1 and 2, and then that was it. But at that point, it was like it just introduced you to like, the concepts of digital recording. And this was like 05, so 06. So it was right at that point where it was like the handoff of it's now in the hands of like people all over the world that can finally make their own stuff in their house or with whatever they have. So it was right at the cutting edge of that. And it's like, my people my age coming up, that was kind of like the only way to do it. And like, and to make it sound good was people frowned upon going into a studio for the longest time. That I would talk to, just do it yourself, But so there's a lot of recordings in my past that have that, like what you're saying, where it's like, oh man, this sounds like the sounds themselves are terrible, but like it's a timeless work that I'm proud of because it has me in it. Yeah, it's not commercialized or like watered down that like gave it to somebody to make it sound current or something like that. It was just me like almost like just putting whatever I had into it.
It's like the sonic equivalent of those little like clay handprints that they made kids do in like grade school. Yeah. And like you have it like, wow, I can't believe my hand used to be that small.
Right. Yeah.
I can't believe my mixes used to be this fucking trash.
Right.
But it's fine. You learn and you grow. And, speaking on that, you should do everything yourself. Don't work in a studio mentality. My whole perspective was, I don't think it matters if you record in a bedroom or a huge studio, but if you are going to be working with somebody else, like a producer or an engineer, like make sure that they're actually a good fit for what you're trying to achieve and that you're on the same page.
Yeah. I've heard people talk about recording experiences they've had where the person's just, they come up with an idea like, I want to do this, and they'll be like, nah, that's not gonna sound cool. Rick Rubin, I have all these quotes in my head, but Rick Rubin once said, if an artist has an idea, no matter how bad it sounds or whatever, or just like ridiculous or like, just do it, because 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, it's going to open up this whole new thing, So just trying ideas and having the freedom to just have that democratic sense of like, yeah, let's do that. We're all.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't, if somebody told me, I don't want to do that, I'd be like, fuck you, man. Like, this is dumb.
Yeah, no, I feel
that's not what it's about.
Especially if you're fucking recording like rock and roll, it's like it thrives off chaos.
Yeah.
So for everything to be so clinical in studio when trying to record a fucking rock record, it's going to sound like, I've said this before, with a friend of mine's band that was a really good live band, awesome live.
Yeah.
But every single time they recorded music, I always said, I just feel like somebody scrubbed my tongue with a Brillo pad. Like that's how like sterilized and just like.
That's awful.
Everything's just like, ugh. Like, all flavors is completely rubbed off of it. But like you see them live and there's so much energy. But like the recordings, everything's all like tame and like very specifically trying to get like all the notes right. And like, everything's just like very polished.
Yeah.
It's like nobody wants this.
Right.
If somebody's coming to you, your rock and roll band, they don't want the polish.
Right. They want some imperfections. Randomness is another thing, like zeroing in on randomness in recordings, like just things that couldn't be replicated. Like not everything be so quantized, in Pro Tools. Oh, this effect, it's going to do this and it's going to keep repeating this. Have something that you could never repeat again.
Yeah.
Or just like, the concept of randomness goes right hand in hand with the concept of chaos. It's kind of like ordering it, like Brian Eno has a stack of like flashcards he calls oblique strategies, and like whenever you run into a wall in the studio, you take one of these cards and it will just say like some new approach, and sometimes it'll be almost like what does this even mean? But like, okay, we're gonna go with it today. Like the randomness in that, and that will just like take you down, because it's so easy, like what you said, of just wanting things to be so perfect, even if you're not consciously aware of that. Like, oh, I just want it to be good. Like, of course, I would lock in all these tom hits so that they're exactly on time.
Sure.
Or I'm gonna pitch correct the vocals.
Sometimes that shit's tight, but like, I think the ultimate determining factor for me is if something is a good idea or not is how much time I'm dwelling on it.
Right.
Like if I have to spend more than X amount of time trying to make something work, it's just not going to work.
Right.
And then it becomes clinical. Then I start trying to like figure out like why this one thing isn't working. It's like sometimes things are just not gonna work.
Yeah.
And you got to learn to let that go and just move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Making something fast. Or at least like speedily enough where you're not dwelling in second guessing yourself. I think that's the best way to do it,
And I think that going back to that self-production thing, it's so easy for somebody like me or you to just, get that itch late at night and, walk over to the computer and just like, I'm just going to check out this mix. I just want to listen to it real quick,
Yeah.
Just going to listen to something. And then,
next thing you know,
it's 9:30 in the morning.
Right.
And you're like, well, I got nowhere.
Right.
That's okay.
Damn. Yeah.
This actually sounds worse than it did earlier.
Right.
Do you have any sort of a boundary or a limit that you put on yourself when it comes to working on stuff? And do you like try to like only focus on stuff at certain times? Do you try to be aware of how long you're working on stuff? Like when you're like if you're on a session, you try to be like, oh, like I'm only going to do this for a couple hours and I'm going to step away from it. You just let it go.
One of my favorite producers, Daniel Lanois.
Is this another quote?
Yeah, this is
Hell
another quote. Full of quotes. I have a new book coming out. It's quotes. just quotes.
Uh-huh.
But he said, when you're in the studio, put your head down, make a masterpiece, and go on with your life. You know, because that's why you're making it, is to go on with your life with it made. And so you could be like, hey, I made this album. So for me, the way that I try to like live by that is have a set time, like almost like I'm going to record from 9 to 1 or something like that, and then that's it. But do it every, like a work day or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's a complaint I hear about a lot of the times. It's like people are like, yeah, I want to make this album, but I have a job. Like, how am I going to do this? And I'm like, well, how else would you do it if you didn't have a job? You know what I mean? You just have to steal the time, basically. Everybody has the same amount of hours.
Compromise and patience.
If you have to
sacrifice, you can.
If you have to wake up at 5 a.m. before work and record for 3 hours or mix, or 3 hours before you go to bed and not do anything, like I'm not going out, I'm not hanging out with people, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
It's like, if you want to make this happen, you have to do it's impossible to make any art. It's impossible. And like on its face, like impossible. It's an impossible, ridiculous notion of like, when there's so much going on in the world, so many things to like, just be aware of and that concerns everybody. Like, nothing's more ridiculous. It's that your ego tells you, or like the devil on your shoulder, that like, man, I got to make this album, but like, why? Like, I have all these other things to do. But you have to break through that.
Mm-hmm. And if you are in it and you are like doing it, this is something I've been telling people a lot recently, is just like if everything doesn't work out 100% how you want it to, it's okay for things not to work out, because like what we're trying to do is so completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like creating something from nothing, making art, putting it out into the world and expecting other people to give a fuck about it.
Right.
Like, that is fucking crazy. It's not normal. It may be normal to us in a sense, because like maybe over the years we've surrounded ourselves with other creative people that are in bands and doing their own things, right? But like, for like the normal outside world, what we do is not fucking normal. So like the reality check of just like, okay, like this is fucking crazy, but I'm doing this, but it's okay if it doesn't like work, or I'm not going to get rich, or, not going to buy a car for it. It's okay. Like, this is fucking crazy. And those sort of things, when people make it happen, like it's such a statistical abnormality for those things to happen. It's not impossible, but if you're in this for the statistical abnormalities, I think that can be really toxic to like your art in the long run.
Yeah, you can't compromise.
I get so fucking annoyed, like so much. Like, there's all these like, local music people that are always complaining about their Spotify streams. Like, we're not making money on Spotify. And it's just like, shut up.
In the words of Drake, you're worried about your followers. You need to get your dollars up.
Another quote.
I told myself no more quotes, but Drake.
Dude, it's
Drake
just
walked
like,
in the room.
It's so funny. Yeah, it's just like, there was somebody in particular. It was like, we made like no money on Spotify, and I went and looked at their page, and they had like 4 monthly listeners. It's just like, and they released, the last song they released was like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it's like, that's fine if you don't have time to put out music or promote your Spotify, but like, don't be out here like you're some struggling musician that's really working it day to day, your hardest, trying to make that dollar, and you're not getting a check from Spotify. Like, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Like, like my bands have like made hundreds of dollars off of Spotify, and like, that's not a whole lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but like, that's hundreds of dollars. Cool. That's like what I would expect based off of the amount of people that have listened to our things on the internet. Mm-hmm. It seems normal to me. It's like,
especially for whatever the rate is per play, which is like,
I think it's different probably. I think it's different for different artists. I think that obviously being I'm basically my own distributor. Mm-hmm. So there isn't like a weird thing where like you're an artist that's signed, because you'll see those things about like, oh, like some artist that's signed to a label's not making any money off of Spotify. But it's like, well, they're not the ones uploading it. Their label is. So they're getting like a percentage of a percentage of a percentage from a, so it's just like, it's a very small thing that gets dwindled down.
Right.
But I don't know. It's just ridiculous. Like if that's what you're concerned about, it's like everybody's just complaining. It's just like, you want to make money on Spotify, release more music.
Yeah, it's
and
like,
promote it. Instead of saying we're not making money on Spotify, making it obvious that nobody gives a fuck about your music, just make posts that say, hey, check out my band on Spotify.
Right.
We have some music and we think it's really good and you'll like it.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Instead of like, nobody's listening to us.
Right. I think that it's like the power that the individual artist has, or like a band, to just like make somebody listen to it. Like with a complaint like that, I would say, like, would you want what it used to be before that, where no one would hear you except if you were in the pipeline of people that got somehow just randomly picked up? You'd be down to just making like a cassette and like passing it around to people and maybe no one would hear it. But the fact that like here we are now where it's almost like music now is almost like photography, where everybody has the ability to do it and do it in a way that can be really well done. That's so beautiful. And the opportunity, who cares about anything else? It's about the product.
I could pull out my cell phone right now. We could probably scream into it for 10 minutes, take a creepy picture in the hallway, and get picked up by some German noise label by Monday.
Yeah.
All from our phone right here. Which, if you want to start a noise project with me, let me know. I have nothing else to do right now.
We're called the Steel Phantoms.
Hell yeah, boy. So, one thing that people, I want to dig into this because we were talking a little bit before about songwriting, and like it really just boils down to making a good song.
Yeah.
And I think we've been talking a little bit just about, the Spotify thing.
Mm-hmm.
It really, again, I think it just goes back into like people stress about not making money off Spotify, or people stress about, not getting their likes on Facebook, or, I'm shadow banned on Instagram or something like that because nobody's interacting with their shit. And they're making all of these conspiracy theory assumptions that like, Mark Zuckerberg's out to get their fucking band page that has 400 likes. It's like, no, maybe
he's a reptoid.
Maybe your band's just like not that great yet. You're just not making good songs, and that's why nobody's paying attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that people aren't seeing what you or me are posting.
Right.
It's just that, it's like, because like, that's the thing. People will think there's things like, well, I could post a funny meme and it gets all these likes, but if I post a song, nobody listens to it.
Right.
It's not like Facebook is favoring your meme over the music. It's just that people see that and they relate to it, so they interact with it. And then people see your song and it's just like, well, I don't like this, or I don't care, so they're not going to interact with it.
Yeah, it's social media is a medium in and of itself. It's like in the 80s where all of a sudden you had to have a music video that spoke to people. Didn't really have anything to do with the music, but like it's like the TikTok of its era almost, or something. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you had to like, oh, that band's video. So it's its own beast, and that's why it's not for me.
I think it's too easy to get distracted with things that take you away from what makes your music important, or important to you.
Yeah,
I should say. I mean, I've fallen victim to that. My own, just being stressed out about, trying to figure out how the algorithms work, and what type of content I should be producing, building a brand, if you will. I've gotten caught up in all that shit. It seems like a natural thing, for somebody that's just trying to figure this out.
Yeah. You want people to listen to you.
I've figured out that like people just interact with my stuff the most whenever I'm just being myself and I'm not sweating the other shit.
Yeah.
Just put out stuff when I can. Don't worry about posting every single fucking day. Just put out stuff when you can. Make sure that it's good. Take your time with it. And I don't know. I'm more proud of the stuff that gets thrown out into the world now as a result of my creativity It's not just, it's otherwise it just starts to become like desperate and
Yeah. Just people barking and
it, like,
noise.
and it kind of like whenever you do finally have something really worthy to show, it's like all of these other things that you've been posting 3 times a day, every other day of the year have kind of devalued this now.
True.
Because people are so used to
That's a
hearing
good
from you all the
point. Yeah.
time. It's like, well, is it better to just like stick your head out of the gopher hole whenever you actually have something to say?
Yeah.
I don't know why I went with gopher hole. That was just
I can imagine it.
that was just that's gonna be the promo for my new album. Just like
Yeah.
buy my record and then go back down.
Yeah. Or like you should have the sleeve like be one of those, like a gopher.
Oh,
you know,
hell yeah.
pull this tab and the gopher.
Marketing genius.
I got to copyright that.
So we've hit our hour and I'm not really done talking to you quite yet. I had a thought the other night.
Let's hear it.
And I wrote this down and I was waiting for the chance to share this with somebody that I thought I could actually engage this conversation with.
Mhm.
And this is really similar to a lot of things we've been talking about today. So I think you're the person, Dan.
Cool.
So I was at a karaoke the other night and I've always like, I guess I've subconsciously thought this, but I've never been able to like articulate how unimportant the verse of a song is until sitting in a karaoke room for like a good like 4 hours that I didn't want to be there, but I was just there. Big circumstances. I was just there.
Yeah.
And just watching people try to sing songs, normal people, not musicians, just normal people try to sing songs. The majority of these people don't know the verse, but they love the song and they know the chorus,
Right.
sometimes the bridge, but the verse is just so not important to people. And it started getting me thinking like, wow, like, yeah, like why not? And why are some of the best songs of all time songs that actually have memorable verses? Like they're like songs where like the verse is also a chorus. Like Wannabe by the Spice Girls is an example of mine because it was sang that night. And I was like, this whole fucking song is a hook.
Right.
I know this entire song because everything in it's a hook.
Right. It's been.
Oh, that
My boy Nicky can do that by memory at karaoke, which I've seen. It brings the house down every time.
But
Beautiful.
yeah, so like thinking about that in terms of writing songs, and it's something that I've been like focused on a lot more recently, is just trying to figure out how to make every single part of the song a hook in a way, not like obnoxiously,
Right.
not in a it's been 1 week type of way. But I mean,
Can never be read. That's lightning in a bottle.
yeah. But, you know, just in a sense where it's like every part of the song should be important. Like,
Yeah.
you know, because like there are a lot of great songs, but they're actually just great hooks,
Yeah.
you know, that are hanging out with just like worthless verses.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of like old 80s like hip hop stuff. They're like these like 6.5 minute long songs. It's like, I can't believe the song is still going.
Yeah.
Like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What are your
I
thoughts?
think that comes down to the melody, the strength of a really good melody. Like Imagine by John Lennon or whatever. Like the every part of the melody is brilliant. You could just take that out and listen to it, that one line at any given point, and it's beautiful and it grabs you. Something about melodies. Melodies are so mysterious and how powerful they are. And I think all the great songs have melodies that are somehow grab you, and then the great songs have melodies where the lyrics are almost like part and parcel of the music too, in a weird another mysterious way.
I was thinking about that earlier when you had mentioned doing poetry and how like it felt different from writing songs.
Yeah.
And my thought that didn't get brought up, but it is now, is in the sense that, yeah, because sometimes when you're writing a song, it's like the music almost inspires a lyric that you would have never thought of because you have like a very specific chord progression or something that makes you think of a phrase or a topic that you wouldn't have thought of without it.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile with poetry, it's more like, you know, it's more transparent. You just kind of have your thoughts and the paper or the tablet or whatever you're writing on.
Yeah. The strength of the rhythm, which is strength in and of itself, which, like, you know, with poetry, you can lean on that, but in songs, it's the melody itself plus the rhythm adds another dimension to it. You know, so I think that for me, a great song, it's great from start to finish, and it grabs you at any given point. And speaking of karaoke, I never do Red Red Wine by UB40 because of that. There's a whole like rap verse that I didn't know existed. And I've made a fool out of myself, you know, many times. I didn't just, you know, fool me once kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you get fooled multiple times when it comes to karaoke. Red, red wine, you make me feel so fun. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you have to sell it. You know?
I always forget how long Rock Lobster is until I do karaoke.
Also, Let's Get It On. Don't do that.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of like, ow, you know.
Yeah. You got to
can't
commit to that.
You have to just like, you know, your ego has to just, you can't bring it in with it. You have to be a different person. You have to serve the song.
Uh-huh.
I've had some really great karaoke experiences because I take it very seriously.
Sure.
And I've done it in a while, but one time, the same Nikki that I talked about who did the
Bare Naked Ladies.
Yeah. He and I used to do doubles. We rock and roll all night, party every day, kiss.
Hell yeah.
And then Circle of Life, the full version.
Okay.
He does the intro, and we just trade off verses. One time we were at Nico's, any given night, any given Sunday, you know?
Yeah.
Out there on the field doing our thing. just trying to sell it. Just trying to bring it home, putting it all in. And at one point, I don't really remember consciously thinking about doing this, but I was on the table and just all in, and I hear a whisper in my ear, and it's one of the employees. Get off the table. I'm going to throw you out. I didn't have time to say, sir, I have to sell this song. I almost have them. They're in my hand. I had to get off the table. Sometimes you have to get off the table in life.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Sure.
getting off the table.
I was like really hoping that you were just gonna, you know, this was gonna all loop around into a thing where you didn't get off the table and then you got kicked out, and that's why you haven't done karaoke in a while, because you refused.
I hung up my shoes after that. No. I've been back. I do Roxanne.
Oh yeah,
That's a good go-to. Zeppelin, things like that.
So wrapping things up.
Yes.
We could fucking.
We could go all night.
I could probably chat with you for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
But I on topic, I have some mixes at the house that I need to get back to.
All right.
You know
Yeah.
how it goes.
Yep.
You know, I'm finishing up pre-production on a new album, baby. Got to get that done before I do this Kennywood vlog. I can only do so much at once, man.
Yeah. You don't want to, back things up.
Got to shit out this record so I could do the important work and talk about the Thunderbolt.
Get down
AKA the
brass tacks.
Pippin.
The Pippin.
You know, spitting some knowledge out there.
Yeah.
For these people. But
The kids out there are like, what? Some kids are like, the hell is that?
I know. And
Scottie Pippen?
dude, I don't even know where to go from this point. Where can people find your music?
Bandcamp, dankoshute.bandcamp.com. Got one of them Facebook accounts. Facebook.com hate social media. / Dan Koshute.
Any upcoming gigs or anything?
Well, I just played one on the 20th.
Hell yeah.
January 20th, that is.
Yo, yeah.
Man, it was good.
Yeah, it was a blast.
I was on CMU.
Nobody told you to get off the table there.
No. WRCT. I played there on January 20th, 2020. But my next gig is...
Is that the advanced calculus thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shout outs to Sean Cho.
There he is.
The only person who have asked to do the podcast that has said no, besides Manny Thiner, but he doesn't count because
One day.
It's Manny Thiner.
One day. They should both do it.
I haven't. Oh, God. That would be fucking great. Manny Thiner.
A two-parter.
Well, actually, I'm not going to say it. Anyways, I haven't seen Sean in a while. So
I've seen him in a minute, too. Well,
Yeah.
I saw him.
next time I see him, maybe I'll ask him again. Maybe he'll agree.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of years since I've asked him. It's been. Yeah.
February 21st at Spirit.
Nice. And so this is a Dan Koshute show.
Mm-hmm.
So let's wrap this up with this.
Yes.
As a let's wrap up this conversation with a question
With
that's
more
probably going to take
conversation.
10 minutes to talk about. As a solo artist who, writes and records and produces all this stuff, what is the live experience like for you? Do you have like a band of friends that play with you?
Yeah.
How's that go?
I have Nikki, it's been on the synth.
Mm-hmm.
Nikki Flowers on the synth. Ian Edwards on bass. He used to be in Pet Clinic. And is one of my favorite bass players in the world. Incredible. All these guys, it's like I'm so honored to have them in my band. And then my buddy Seth Chiswick, also known as Goose, on the drums. So
Cool.
yeah.
Do you like whenever you're playing, are you out live? Are you very much like a play these songs the way that I play them, or you're fucking fired, or are you very much just like a get it close enough and it'll be fine?
You mean the other people?
Yeah.
The other people in the band? I let them do their thing.
Yeah.
I don't like to over rehearse. I just let them rise to the occasion and be them. And they're honestly some of my favorite musicians in the world. Not only favorite people and some of my best friends. I'm happy to say, but I just love what they do. And I want to give them space to do their unique style.
I think that that's important when you're working with other people. I too have a solo project, and I too write, record, produce the majority of the material. But now that I've had like the same backing band for a while, and this album that we're working on now, they're actually like writing and recording with me. Just because, I got involved with them because I respected them as people and as musicians, and they have really cool ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff that they brought to the table on songs that I had written, like stuff that they had changed for the live environment, I was like, whoa, I never would have thought of that. And now this stuff sounds so much cooler. Let's see what we can do in the studio.
Yeah.
So now like we're doing all this stuff, but I think that I'm glad that I wasn't like some crazy control freak and that I let them do that, because it really just opened things up.
Yeah, you can hear that. You can hear when it's one person, even if it's somebody playing all the instruments or whatever, multi-tracking it. Has a different vibe, and I can't explain it. I wish I could, but there really is a different vibe. And sometimes you want that vibe, sometimes you don't. But I'm just saying it's a totally different vibe, and it's really cool. It sounds more human, or in a different way.
Yeah.
Just as human, but in its own imperfectly human way.
More dynamic, more diverse.
Yeah.
More delicious.
More delicious.
Yes. And that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. One more time, Dan Koshute. Thank you for being here, my friend. You can keep beatboxing if you would like to. I'll be back again in a couple days with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the beat. I haven't decided if have you decided if you're going to say 2020 or 2020 when talking about the year?
I'm all fucked up with that.
Because it used to be 2019, whoop whoop, thanks for listening. Now, do I say 2020, whoop whoop, or do I say 2020, whoop whoop? I kind of like if it's a little bit of 2020, whoop whoop.
2020.
2020, whoop whoop. Thanks for
2020.
listening. 2020.
That sounds more formal. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, the cops just came.
Yeah.
2020. That sounds more street. Like
2020. Thanks for listening. I guess.
Excellent!
And we're done. Goodbye.
good night and good luck.